If you're watching this in May, happy Celiac Awareness Month. My name is Jess and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist with a practice focus in celiac disease as well as in gut health. If you've been recently diagnosed with celiac disease, you know how frustrating and how overwhelming it can be. So for the month of May, we've created a 3-part video series on what to change in your kitchen, how to change your grocery shopping, and what to change in your thought process in order to understand this autoimmune disease. And for video 1, we're going to be starting in the kitchen. So let's dive in. So we're going to be starting in the kitchen because this is where all the action happens. This is where you spend a significant amount of time, whether it's making dinner, cleaning up from dinner, doing meal prep or ingredient prep, but we spend a significant amount of our time in the kitchen, which is why I think it's really important to put a lot of energy and a lot of focus into making your kitchen as safe as possible for you. So in the kitchen, what we're specifically zeroing in on is cross-contamination. Technically, we should be using the word cross-contact, but I feel like cross-contamination is a word that people understand because we use it all the time when it comes to foodborne illnesses or having food poisoning. So I'm going to use cross-contamination, but I just want you to know technically we should be using cross-contact. So let's zero in on the fridge a little bit first. So in the fridge, the first thing that needs to go is all the condiments. So I don't want you just throwing it away. If there's somebody else in your house that will use it, by all means, it's totally fine for them. But just for you, I would love it if you could go out and buy yourself some fresh margarine, fresh peanut butter, fresh hummus, anything that those double dippers might have used for sandwiches or for their toast in the morning, where they're literally taking a scoop of peanut butter, wiping it on the bread, going back for seconds. So any moment like that would contaminate that condiment with gluten, which makes it not safe for you, but for everybody else, it's fine. So you can go out and buy exactly the same product as your family. You're just gonna have to put big yellow tape around it or a label of some sort just to indicate that this is your certified gluten-free peanut butter. So we just talked about what needs to be removed from the fridge, and now we're just going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some equipment that might need to be replaced or removed from your kitchen. So unfortunately, this is going to probably cost a little bit of money, and I apologize in advance for that, but it's really just to prevent any sort of cross-contamination that could be happening behind the scenes. So the first thing you need to go out and buy would be your own toaster. And there is some debate out there whether or not you do need a dedicated toaster for you, and 100% you definitely do. So if you can imagine, if someone were to use a typical slice of wheat-based bread, put that in your toaster, all those crumbs at the bottom are just there to cross-contaminate your poor gluten-free toast. So definitely please get your own toaster. Other things that you might want to start thinking about to replace would be anything made out of plastic or out of wood. So typically that includes cutting boards and wooden spoons that you might have lying around. Just because, as you can imagine, when you're cutting on this cutting board, it's going to create little grooves. And in that little groove, gluten particles will get stuck in there. And it's almost, we could scrub them really clean, but it's just over time the plastic degrades and gluten will lodge itself in there. So one tip or trick if you wanted to still use your beautiful plastic or wooden cutting boards would be to grab some wax paper and put some wax paper on top and then cut all your veggies on top of the cutting board with the wax paper and then throwing that out. Other equipment that you might want to rethink would be colanders. So if you have a plastic colander, definitely get rid of it. But if you have a stainless steel one, I'm even encouraging you to get a dedicated gluten-free one, because those little tiny holes, gluten's just going to get stuck in there, because those colanders are a pain to clean no matter what. But when we're trying to be totally gluten-free, it is really important to have your own certified gluten-free colander. Other things would be dishcloths or sponges or scrubs. Again, you want your own dedicated one, just because a family member could go and wipe up their sandwich that they just made, and then you're going in there and using it to clean your now gluten-free colander. And the last thing on that list would be a frying pan. So if it's a brand new frying pan or brand new pot and pan that doesn't have any scratches, you are totally fine to continue using it. But if it's a favorite one that's been totally scratched up and not even sticky anymore, then you're probably going to need to go out and buy yourself a fresh one. Again, because gluten is just going to get stuck in there and it's going to be almost impossible to use it and not get contaminated. So we've talked about what needs to be removed from the fridge, and we've also talked about what kitchen equipment might need to be replaced in your kitchen. And the last point I want to talk about is if you live in a household where there's multiple people using the kitchen, it might be easier if you have a big enough kitchen. I don't, but if you do, it might be easier to have a dedicated section of your kitchen just for you. So what you would have in your little section of your kitchen would be maybe a little cupboard that has all of the products that double dippers might be tempted to double dip into, and just have your labeled red tape, yellow tape there that people know that that is your safe gluten-free product. It would also give you some reassurance that that counter is safe from any gluten crumbs that somebody else might have come in there and made a sandwich. So I think just to give you some peace of mind, it just might be simpler to have a dedicated space for you in your kitchen. But I totally get if that's not doable because your kitchen's too small or there's too many of you in the house. But if that's the case, then I really do encourage you to label all of your products so that everyone knows which product is yours and which one can't be used for any gluten-containing food. If you're looking for more support, head over to the Canadian Celiac Association's website. Under support groups, you're going to see a whole list of support groups throughout the country. They meet regularly, it's free, it's a great place to ask questions and get to know other people with celiac disease. For a list of what we talked about today, I put that in the description, so hopefully you weren't scribbling notes throughout the whole video. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week when we talk about what to change when you're going grocery shopping.